Welcome to this summary session of the first Adhyaya of Sri Bhagavad Gita. We will start with paying the obeisances to the Lord and to the entire lineage of the Guru Shishya Parampara through which this knowledge is protected and it is transmitted so that it can reach our generation. I'd like to pay respects to my Guruji, Pujya Guruma, with whose grace I am able to learn these scriptures and I'll be sharing my understanding with you. Let us first start with a prayer. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karva Vahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So the first question is, why should we learn Gita Ji? Sri Bhagavad Gita, it is also called as a celestial song or God's own song. It grants us all that wishes that we yearn for in our lifetime. We all yearn to become successful, to become happy. Of course, the definition of success is different for different people. We have a lot of struggle in our life and we do find peace which should not be transient, which should always be there. Peace of mind and fearlessness. And Gita Ji is here to be our companion, to be our guide for our life, for all our struggles, for all the situations that we are unable to face them with our own understanding and we get into a panic mode or a stress mode. So it helps us to overcome a lot of our attachments which are considered to be the root cause of many of our problems, day-to-day problems, which blurs our vision, does not allow us to see clearly, to think clearly, and Sri Bhagavad Gita helps us to overcome all these attachments. The uniqueness of Sri Bhagavad Gita is in its simplicity compared to the scriptures like Upanishada, of which Bhagavad Gita is a summary of these Upanishadas. But Upanishadas and Vedas and the other Brahma Sutras and the other scriptures are much more difficult to understand for mortals like us, and that's why Bhagavad Gita is relatively much simpler. Being simpler does not necessarily mean that it is not deep. It has a profound meaning. Each shloka has a very deep meaning, and this can be deciphered only from the mouth of the learned Guru, who can actually make us understand the profound meaning behind each shlokas. Bhagavad Gita is also like an ocean. When we dive deep into it, we can find different pearls all the time, and every time we'll find a newer meaning, a different meaning that can help us to understand the nuances of life. Not only it is simple and profound, but it is also very sweet and very beautiful. That Madhurya Ras is always there wherever we get into this. We never find it boring. It's a very friendly dialogue between Shri Krishna and Arjuna, and that's why it comes from the heart of Shri Krishna for a friend from a friend, and that's why it is very, very beautiful as well. Sri Bhagavad Gita is divided into 18 chapters, which are also called as 18 Adhyayas. The number 18 also has a lot of significance. The Mahabharata Yuddha, the battle went on for 18 days. Total number of the divisions of the Kaurava and the Pandava Sena were also 18. Kaurava Sena was 11 divisions, what is also in Sanskrit called Gyara Akshauheri Sena, and Pandava Sena was 7 divisions. But the 18 chapters of Sri Bhagavad Gita are divided in the first 6, which are predominantly related to our actions. That is, it's also Karma Pradhan. Of course, there is a lot of Gnana, Bhakti also is taken into consideration, but predominantly it is karma or action oriented. The next 6 is more bhakti oriented, and the final 6 adhyayas or chapters are predominantly about the Atma Gnana, the self-knowledge, and that's why it is a Gnana Pradhana. So in a nutshell, the first adhyaya is also called as Arjuna Vishada Yoga. It's a prologue to the entire Bhagavad Gita, where Arjuna, when he comes to the battlefield, gets into attachment, moha, and becomes very sad, dejected, despair. And in this despondency, Lord Krishna then gives him the message of his life in the second adhyaya. So second adhyaya is also called the Sankhya Yoga. Sankhya is a part of the knowledge tradition. So Sankhya means the knowledge. So the main crux of the second adhyaya is the Gnana Updesha that Shri Krishna gives to Arjuna. And this is like a summary of the entire Bhagavad Gita. It covers most of the important subjects that Lord Shri Krishna is going to cover in the next adhyayas. So it is summarized in the second adhyaya. And then from the 3rd to the 17th chapters, there is more detailed description of all the different aspects that Shri Krishna is going to cover about the Jiva, the Jagata, the Parmeshwara, the Vishwarupa Darshana, the Daivi Sampatti, the Asuri Sampatti, the Sattvika, Rajasika, Tamasika, Guna, Karma, Vibhaga. All these important subjects are going to be covered in the 3rd to the 17th adhyaya. And finally, 18th adhyaya also summarizes what Shri Krishna has already said in the rest of the adhyaya. So this is in a nutshell what is the composition of Sri Bhagavad Gita. Let us start with the first adhyaya, which is the Arjuna Vishada Yoga, which is very important because it forms the background of the battle and it forms the background of Sri Bhagavad Gita. It tells us about the psychology of both the sides, the psychology of the Pandavas and the psychology of the Kauravas. We will talk about it today in the summary. And it helps us to understand my own mind. Whenever thoughts come up in my own mind, where I need to improve, whether these are my vices, these are my virtues, Asuri Sampatti or Daivi Sampatti, based on that, I will come and understand about my own mind. And Arjuna, when he comes to the battlefield, develops his attachment, moha. But Duryodhana, though he is placed in a similar situation, though he is on the opposite side of the army, but faced in a similar situation that he also has to fight with his cousins, but he does not get moha. On the contrary, he has a lot of ahankara, ego, pride, and a lot of asuri vrittis. And that shows the difference between the two, the difference in the dharma. Arjuna has a strong faith and understanding of dharma, whereas Duryodhana does not have that. And that's why Arjuna becomes the candidate to hear this message of the Lord in Sri Bhagavad Gita. Because Arjuna has faith in dharma, his mind sometimes does not want to follow dharma, and that's why there is a tug of war. Even in our own minds during our life, this tug of war happens. On one side, it is the righteousness or the dharma which pulls us towards doing something which is correct, which is right, which I should do. And on the other hand, my mind pulls me towards something that I want to do, I love to do, I like to do. So this struggle is eternally present in our life, and how to come out of this struggle is the central message of Sri Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna here is the candidate because he is a person who gets confused, he is undecided, and he has a struggle in his life. So whenever there is a struggle which may have been created, but when we land up in that situation, then that is the time that this message becomes helpful for us, because attachment is the root cause of bondage, and to relieve us from this attachment, this is the ultimate message of the Lord. The first adhyaya is more like a story before the main teaching, and that creates enthusiasm amongst the listeners. A kind of curiosity is ignited, and eagerness develops in the mind of the listener. An interest develops to further understand what is coming up, and this also shows the deserving candidate. The Arjuna is the deserving person, not Duryodhana. And it also tells us about the subject matter, what is going to be covered. Vishada. Vishada is because of the moha, and moha nivrutti, or moha which comes out of the ajnana, or the ignorance, which is the root cause of all the problems according to our scriptures. And this can only be relieved by the knowledge, the Atma Gnana, and that's why that's the central subject or the message of Shri Krishna. Mahabharata battle which was fought on the Kurukshetra was a battle between the Kauravas and the Pandavas. We all know that. But the spiritual or the tattvic meaning of this battle is that this kind of battle goes on in our mind all the time between the Daivi Sampatti, our virtues, and the Asuri Sampatti, our vices, all the time. So they keep fighting with each other, and who is overpowering who, that is a question of debate. That also depends on a lot of our sanskaras, our impressions, our mind, our intellect, how it works, and how we are able to control our mind and our intellect. So these Asuri vrittis or feelings that make us what we like to do, what we want to do, make us independent. But this independence is also called Swachhanda. And this is beyond, without any control, without any niyantrana. And that's why I become the slave of my own mind. My mind does not have any control over me. Actually, my mind controls me. And that's why I'm likely to disturb not only myself but others as well as the nature. And this may give me an immediate happiness in the, but later on this can make me miserable. On the other hand, people who have Daivi Sampatti, which are the virtues which are more predominant than the vices, they are independent in a different way. In English, we term both these as independent, but they are poles apart. One is Swachhanda, where the mind is the controller, whereas the other is a Swatantra, where the mind is under control and with Sanyama, with the control of the mind. And this is very important. With this, the person has all the sattvic, Daivi Sampatti, like helping others, being kind, being compassionate, acceptance, morality, honesty, simplicity. And this person is not likely to disturb others or the nature and may have difficulties in the early part of the life, but later on will develop bliss and happiness in life. The summary of the first Adhyaya, the first 11 shlokas, talks about the description of the different armies, and it starts with Dhritarashtra, we'll come to that. And then everybody on all the sides, the Pandavas and the Kauravas, they blow their conches. So essentially, it signifies the beginning of the war. And then Arjuna observes the Pandava army, tells Shri Krishna, take my chariot to the center of the battlefield. I want to see what is happening. I want to see who are my opponents. And finally, he becomes dejected, he becomes despondent, despair, and he develops sorrow. And this is because of the attachment, the moha, and that is expressed in his words. So traditionally, Sri Bhagavad Gita starts with this Dhyana Shloka. We'll start with this Dhyana Shloka. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavatam Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Kratitam Purana Muninam Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamruta Varshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatvamanusandathami Bhagavat Gite Bhavatveshinim. So let us understand the meaning of this Dhyana Shloka. Om is the one letter name of the Supreme Divinity. Parthaya Pratibodhitam means this is the teaching for Partha. Partha is the name of Prithaputra Arjuna. But in essence, Arjuna is the instrument. This is the message to the entire humanity. Bhagavatam Narayana Swayam, by none else than God Sri Narayana, Vishnu, who incarnates as Sri Krishna. Vyasena Purana Muninam means it is created by Veda Vyasa, who also has created all the Puranas. Mahabharata Madhye Grathitam, which is included within the Mahabharata. In the Bhishma Parva, in the Mahabharata, this is the Bhagavad Gita is already included. Advaitam Amruta Varshinim, which is the message of oneness. Advaitam, message of oneness, which is like very sweet, like nectar. Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim means it is like Bhagavati, Ma Bhagavati, and consists of 18 chapters. Amba means mother. It is like a mother who rears a child. Tvam anusandadhami Bhagavad Gita. I'm starting to learn. I'm anusandadham. I'm trying to learn and understand Sri Bhagavad Gita, which will destroy all my miseries and my sorrows. So with this dhyan shloka and prayer to the Almighty Lord, we start the first shloka of the first adhyaya of Bhagavad Gita. Today we are talking about the summary. So in one session we will cover all the shlokas. So we'll just give a nutshell of how the story runs, and in nutshell give you the summary of each and every meaning of each and every shloka. So as you know, Mahabharata battle is going on and Sanjaya is seeing the battle with his divine eyes. This divine eyes or Divya Chakshu was given to him by Veda Vyasa. Actually Veda Vyasa wanted to give Dhritarashtra this divine eyes, but Dhritarashtra, out of fear probably of not seeing his sons being won over by the Pandavas, probably he rejected this offer and said instead, why don't you give Sanjaya this divine Chakshu or the divine eyes. So Sanjaya had this divine eyes and he was seeing the battle, and Dhritarashtra asked Sanjaya that what is happening on the battlefield. He wants to know what is happening, and that is how the first shloka starts. Dhritarashtra uvacha dharma kshetre kurukshetre samaveta yurutsavaha mamakah pandavaschaiva kimakurvata Sanjaya. So Dhritarashtra says, he asked Sanjaya, oh Sanjaya, at Dharma Kshetre, where the Dharma Yuddha is being, it's a Yuddha for the righteousness. Kurukshetra is the battlefield. It is more like a pilgrimage where Gitaji message was given, and of course a lot of saints and hermits have already done a lot of tapascharya in Kurukshetra. So it's a very pious place. And Dhritarashtra says, Mamaka cha Pandava kim kurvata, means what are my and Pandu's sons are doing. He wants to know. And this itself tells about the inner state of mind of Dhritarashtra. Mamaka means my, and that shows his attachment to his own sons, which is the root cause of the Mahabharata battle. Unless he had this strong attachment, Dhritarashtra is a significance, he signifies this moha, this attachment, because unless he had this attachment, probably this war would not have happened, because he would have given the kingdom to the Pandavas, to whom it rightly belonged. And when Pandavas came up with an offer to share the kingdom, even that offer was also rejected. So obviously this attachment was the root cause why this problem had been created in the first place, and it is being shown in the first shloka of Bhagavad Gita. In the next shloka, Sanjay says, Drashtva tu Pandava nikam yuddham duryodhanastada acharyamupasangamya raja vachanam abravid. This says Duryodhana, he goes to Dronacharya and speaks these words. So Duryodhana tells Dronacharya that why don't you see this very large Pandava army where the Drupada Putrena, Yudham, who is already, they are made in a formation, and Drupada Putrena Drushtadumya was the prime, he was the commander-in-chief of the Pandava army. So he says, he is your Shishya. He tells Acharya Drona, who has been a teacher of Arjuna, who has already learned of Duryodhana, who has already learned all his archery and everything from Dronacharya. So he goes to Dronacharya and says that you see this very large Pandava army which is being commanded by your Shishya, your disciple, Drushtadumya, who is Drupada's son. And actually Drona had an animosity with Drupada, where they had, learned their childhood, they had spent together, they were good friends. And that's why this suggests that he is pressing the right button. And this is an Asuri Vritti, this is the vice that he is pressing. He is, trying to pressurize his teacher, just making a taunt telling him that it was not worth training your disciple Drupada Putra Drushtadumya, who is now standing in front of you and has become the commander-in-chief of the opposite army. So that is what it means. And then he shows the main warriors of Pandava army to Dronacharya. He describes all the Bhima, Arjuna, Yuyudhana, Virata, Drupada, Kashiraja, Shaibya, all the other Vikranta, Uttama Moja, all the warriors of the Pandava army. He tells Dronacharya, Duryodhana is talking to Dronacharya and showing him all these warriors of the Pandava army. Then Duryodhana shows warriors of his own army, and he says, even my own army, I am telling you just for your own understanding or for your knowledge, I am telling you, Drona. He is telling Dronacharya, for your knowledge I am telling you. Of course, Dronacharya knew who are there, the warriors in their own army, and this was a very disrespectful way of speaking to one's own teacher. But this also shows the Asuri Vritti of the Kauravas and Duryodhana in particular. And then he says, Bhavan Bhishmascha. So he says, Bhavan means you, Duryodhana, you, Bhishma, Karna, Krupa, all these are my warriors. And Ashwathama and all these. So he describes in just one shloka, he describes the Pandava army in 3 shlokas. Here he is describing his own army in just one shloka. That also shows the Asuri Vritti, a vice, in the mind that, my opponents are much more stronger. And this comes from some kind of a fear that Duryodhana is having, and that's why he's coming to Drona and talking about it. Just like a child, when he's fearful, he goes to his parents and starts talking. So similarly, that's the opening of Sri Bhagavad Gita. Then he says, there are many other in my army who have come, and those who have given up their life for me. He says, Madarthe Tyakta Jivitaha. So for my sake, these all my warriors have given up their life. This also shows his Asuri Vritti, his self-centered thinking, his selfish thinking, which has created this problem in the first place. And this shows the mansikta or the psychology of the Kauravas. And then he compares both the armies, and this is also out of fear. He says, he shows his own army as being superior to Pandava's army, and he says, our own army is aparyaptam, which is guarded by Bhishma, and their army, that is the Pandava's army, is a limited army, paryaptam, and which is guarded by Bhima Virakshitam. So he compares these two armies and is trying to say that our army is unlimited, and this shows his ego, his pride, and that is also Asuri Vritti that is being shown of Duryodhana. So Duryodhana tells his army to protect Bhishma from all the sides in the next shloka, and that is because Bhishma is the commander-in-chief, he is a great warrior, he is so strong that he could destroy the entire Pandava Sena in a few days. So that is the strength of Bhishma, and that's why Duryodhana tells all his army men, even Dronacharya and all his other army people, to protect Bhishma from all the sides. So Bhishma Pitama is seeing all this from a distance, that Duryodhana is talking to Dronacharya, and probably he feels that this doesn't look like a very healthy discussion, and that's why what he does is he roars like a lion, Sinhanadam Vinadyoche, and he blows his conch very loudly, and this is to make Duryodhana happy. Sanjay Nayan Harsham Kuru Vrutta Pitamaha. And then after that, after Bhishma Pitama blows his conches, which signifies the beginning of the war, a lot of other Kaurava army men or warriors start blowing their own conches, and then there are a lot of drums playing, all different types of drums are playing, and this makes a very loud noise. Tumula Bhavat, Shabda Tumulo Bhavat. That means it's a very loud noise is created, and this is like a war strategy, this loud noise they create to suppress or depress the opposition army. But the opposition army is the Pandavas. They are not somebody who is going to get afraid or upset. So then what happens is the next shloka, the Pandavas, they start blowing their conches, and out of these, the first one who blows the conch is Krishna, Madhava, and then Arjuna is the next to blow his shank. Krishna blows his Panchajanya shank, and Arjuna blows his Devadatta conch, and then Bhima blows his Poundram conch, and finally Yudhishthir Ananta Vijayam. So all these their conches they blow, that signifies that the war has already started. So all the other Pandavas also blow their respective conches. There are Shikhandi, the Drushtadumna, Virata, Satyaki, all Drupada, all these they blow their own different respective conches. And this creates a very fierce sound. And it's this shloka, the next shloka says that this sound pierces the heart of the Kauravas. Sagosho Dhatarashtanam Hradayani Vadaraya. This tumulo, Veldayan, which spreads all over, not only in the world but even in the sky, this big sound. And then the next shloka, Arjuna, he lifts his Gandiv, his bow. Gandiv is his very great bow, which was being, with the Devatas for thousands of years. And he has this Gandiv, which is one of the best bow and arrow, and he prepares for war. He lifts up this Gandiv, and he wants to see the sons of Dhritarashtra, his opponents. Kapidwaja is the name of Arjuna. There his, Hanuman is sitting on his flag. That is why his name is also Kapidwaja. And then Arjuna tells Krishna to take his chariot to the center of the battlefield as he wants to see his opponents. And Arjuna literally commands Shri Krishna. Of course, nobody can command the Lord. But here, Shri Krishna is the charioteer and Arjuna is the Swami, he is the Rathi. So he, in that sense, in that equation, at the moment, he can give an order to Shri Krishna. He says, Sanayor Ubhayor Madhye Ratham Stapaya Mechyuta. Here, Achyuta is the name of Shri Krishna, who does not swerve or deviate from his ultimate goal or vision of life. He's always in control of himself. He never deviates from his path. That's why he's also called Achyuta. So he says, take my chariot to the center of the battlefield, O Achyuta. That's what Arjuna tells Shri Krishna. And Arjuna says, I want to see all my opponents. And in these two shlokas, he says that I want to see not only the opponents, but all these Kauravas whose thinking is distorted. Durbuddhi, Duryodhana, Dhritarashtrasya children who are Durbuddhi. Durbuddhi means they're wicked. Their thinking is distorted. So I want to see all these people. So far, Arjuna is ready to start the war, and then now a twist is going to happen in this situation. So when Arjuna told Krishna, Krishna takes the chariot to the center of the battlefield and he parks the chariot right in front of Bhishma, Drona, Pramukhata, Sarvesham cha Bhayikshitam. And that's why Arjuna is able to see all the opponent warriors in the Kaurava army. And with this, Lord Krishna tells Arjuna, Kurun Pashya. You see all these Kauravas, he tells Arjuna. And this is almost like pressing the right button, as if Lord Krishna was waiting for this moment. He already just, there was a balloon and just pierced this balloon, something like this. And there is entire changeover in the mind of Arjuna. He now cannot see the warriors who are standing in front, but he starts seeing his own relatives. And this is because of the Raga Drashti. Raga, Dvesha are the root causes of our attachment and our problems. Raga is the attachment, which causes more of attachment so this loses our vision of the dharma, adharma, that viveka, that discriminating intellect that we have, which we have been bestowed with, is lost when we become attached or our mind gets deluded. So with this, now Arjuna is starting to see all the relatives in the opponent army. He's seeing his Pitrus, his Pitamahan, Bhishma. He's seeing his Acharyas, the Krupacharya, Dronacharya. He's seeing all his maternal uncles, his Putra, Pautra, his friends, his father-in-laws, all these people. He sees all Sarvan Bandhun Vavasthitan. Means he sees all his relatives in the opponent army. He's not able to see his warrior because his vision is now blurred with the moha and the attachment. So that is what happens to Arjuna. His vision is completely changed. And then with this moha, what develops? He develops a deep compassion for the opponents. He is going to fight with the opponents. He cannot be compassionate about the opponents. But this krupaya paraya vishtha. So in this rage of emotion, he gets a deep compassion. And with this vishada, vishidantamidam bravita, means with this sorrow, this vishada, he tells Krishna that he says, Drashvevam swajanam Krishna. Krishna, I am seeing all the relatives instead of the warriors. And then he describes this condition very clearly. Even though he's under a lot of stress, emotional rage, sorrow, attachment, moha, and then he develops a significant stress response, anxiety also. But he is able to describe his condition very clearly. And what he is describing, Sidanti mama gatrani. My limbs are getting weak. I'm not able to, my mouth is getting dry. My limbs are trembling. My body is trembling. My goosebumps, I'm having goosebumps. My hairs are standing up on their ends. My Gandiv, my bow is slipping out from my hands. My skin is burning and I'm not able to stand up. And my mind is going round and round, going round and round. So he describes this condition to Shri Krishna very well. It's almost like a severe stress response that he has got. And Arjuna starts talking about the opposite result of the war, the Viparitani. He sees the other side of the war. He cannot see what is to be done, what is needed. He sees no benefit in killing his relatives. And he says, I cannot see any Shreya. By killing my relatives, I will not get any betterment, I will not progress. And he develops a kind of a vairagya, a dispassion. But this dispassion is born out of his attachment. It is not born out of his viveka or his discriminating intellect. It is born out of his attachment, and that's why this is not the true vairagya. He doesn't want to become successful, doesn't want to win the war, doesn't want the kingdom, he doesn't want happiness. He says, Na rajyena kim na kankshe vijayam na cha rajyam na sukhani na bhogair. He doesn't want to live. And he says, ye rajya, ye bhoga, ye sukha, what will I do with all this if I have to kill my relatives? And so he develops, he doesn't want to go for the war, does not want to desire to kill his relatives. He says, all these are very, very learned, my most respected people, and they are I am so attached to them, they are my own people, how can I kill them? And he says, I don't want to fight this war, even if I get killed. Gnantopi api. I don't want to fight this, even though I get killed. Oh Madhusudana. Madhusudana is a name for the Lord. He is telling Bhagavan Shri Krishna that, Madhu, you have been a, destroyer of the demon Madhu, but you are asking me to destroy my own relatives. This is not fair. And he says, what will I do with this war? His entire vision is completely changed now. It is colored with the moha, and he does not know what is the right thing to do. He gets this confusion, and this confusion is born out of this attachment. So his mind is clouded. He cannot see dharma. He starts now making a lot of different excuses for not finding the war. The first thing that he says that these are atatainaha. By killing this atataina, he says papameva shred asman hatvevan atatainaha. Means even if I kill this atatainaha are the wrongdoers. Today we call them terrorists, those who do the wrong things. If I kill this, I will get sin. Actually, our scriptures tell us that by killing atatainaha, you don't get the sins. It is not papa. Doesn't happen by killing atatainahas. But here he is saying the wrong things because he is, his mind is completely clouded. He says, how by killing our relatives, how can we be happy? Swajanam hi katham hatva sukhina syam Madhava. Madhava is also name of Shri Krishna, of course. It's a name of Shri Vishnu. But Krishna here is an incarnate of Vishnu, and that's why Madhava is the name used for Shri Krishna. Arjuna says that war is not advisable for saving his family also, and that's why he says Kulakshaya. Kulakshaya, he says, is a big dosha, and Mitra Droha is another dosha. So I don't want to do this sinful work, Patakam, I don't want to do this sinful work. And those people, the Kauravas, they have Lobha Pahata Chetasa. Means they are because they have greed for their kingdom, they are come here to fight this war. But he says in the next shloka that at least we should see, we should know that this is sinful activity, this Kulakshaya Krutam Dosham, and Janardana. Janardana is also name of Shri Krishna. We should be able to see this. We are the people. Those people are, already bound by attachment. But we should be the people who should see that this is not proper. This is sinful. This will take us, the entire family will be destroyed. Kulakshaya Nasha. And what will happen if there is Kulakshaya Nasha or Kula Nasha, or the family gets destroyed? What will be the effect? He is describing in the next shloka. He says, Kulakshaya Pranashanti Kula Dharma Sanatana. If the Kulakshaya happens, the entire Kula Dharma will get destroyed, and then the Adharma will increase. And if Adharma increases, what will happen? He says in the next shloka that a mixed race, the Varna Sankara, because the Kula Striya, the women of the Kula will be blamed, and then they will be indulged in wrongful activities, and that will create a mixed race, which will be a confused race. So Varna Sankara will develop. And the next shloka says that Varna Sankara, if they develop, they will not keep the dharma, and that's why the ancestors, for whom the post-death rituals should be done, like Pinda, Kriya, all this Tarpana, and all these rituals will not be possible, it will not be done. And the Pitaro also Patanti, that means they will have a downfall, they will not develop a good peaceful state, and all these ancestors will not have peace. So he goes on to describe, and this also shows that Arjuna has a lot of faith in the Dharma. He actually has a faith in the Dharma, the Shastra, all the Vidhis that has been shown in the Shastra. He has this faith, but the problem is that he is engulfed with a lot of emotions, the attachment, moha, and that's why he has a sorrow, and that's why he's developed this kind of attachment. It is not that he's having a fear. He knows he's a great warrior. He can win with the help of the other Pandavas and Shri Krishna. He knows that they can win the war. So it's not born out of fear, but it's born out of the attachment. So then he says that if the Kula Shankara, Varna Sankara dosha, this can actually, the entire Jati Dharma and the Kula Dharma will be destroyed. Means entire family Dharma, all the caste Dharma, everything will be uprooted. There won't be any Dharma which will remain. So this also shows that his vision is completely changed. Where it is Dharma, he sees Adharma. Where it is Adharma, he is seeing Dharma. And with this, he says what will happen when the entire Kula Dharma is destroyed. Narake Niyatam Vaso, means the people of this, our family, will have to stay in the hell for a long period of time. And this is what I have heard. He says, I don't know whether this is written in the scriptures, but this is what I have heard, that when the Kula Dharma gets destroyed, people in the family have to stay in the hell. And this is of course very painful, because there is a lot to endure in the hell. There is a lot of pain. And Arjuna is showing all the possible adverse effects. At this time, it is important to understand and realize that Krishna has been listening to all this ranting that Arjuna is doing very silently, without speaking a single word. And he is not even, making any expression to Arjuna. So Arjuna keeps on talking about all the possible side effects of all this. He's going to war, or he's going away from the war. And the next shloka, Arjuna says it is better Duryodhana kills him, and I don't want to fight this war. He decides, finally takes a decision that I don't want to fight this war. And in the final shloka, the 47th shloka, Sanjaya Uvacha Eva Muktva Arjuna Sankhye Rathopastha Upavishata Visrujya Sasharam Chapam Shoka Samvigna Manasaha. So here, Eva Muktva Arjuna Sankhye, after saying all this, Arjuna goes to the backside, Rathopastha. Ratha Upastha means the backside of the chariot. Upavisha, sits down. Visrujya Sasharam Chapam, his bows and arrow both he puts down. And Shoka Samvigna Manasaha. So he becomes very sorrowful. There's a lot of despair. He's so vyakul. He doesn't know what to do. He's very confused. And finally takes a decision that no, enough is enough. I don't want to fight this war. Even though I get killed, even though they kill me, even though I don't have to put up any weapons, it's better that I don't fight this war. With this, we come to the end of the first Adhyaya. Arjuna Vishada Yoga is the name of this first Adhyaya, and it is customary to recite this Adhyaya Pushpika at the end of every Adhyaya. Om Tat Saditi Srimad Bhagavad Gitasu Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Arjuna Vishada Yogo Nama Prathama Odhyayaha. And it is also customary to recite this last shloka of the 18th Adhyaya, which is the end of the teaching of Lord Shri Krishna after every Adhyaya. Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tva Sarva Papebhyo Moksha Ishyami Ma Shuchaha. So again, to revise the first Adhyaya, first 11 shlokas, they see both the sides describe the army, and then they blow their conches, which signifies the beginning of the war. And then Arjuna sees the Kaurava army, asks Krishna to take his chariot to the center of the battlefield, and then finally, after seeing all this, he gets attachment to his own relatives, does not see that these are warriors, and with this he becomes very sorrowful, cowardly, makes some cowardly statements, and then sits down on the backside of his chariot and decides that he doesn't want to fight for this war. And from here, the second Adhyaya will start, where Lord Krishna will start his message after the first 10 shlokas, which describes The same condition when Lord Krishna tells Arjuna, why in this battlefield at this stage you have developed this kind of an attachment, why don't you get up and start your war? But he does not do that, and finally Arjuna accepts his Shishyatyueham Shadimam Tvam Prapannam in the 7th shloka of the 2nd Adhyaya, and from the 11th shloka Lord Shri Krishna starts his message and his teaching. So with this we come to the end of the 1st Adhyaya. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parah Brahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnaha Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.